Hey guys, today I'm gonna set up an 8-gallon aquarium. I'm gonna show you the steps of it. I'm planning on making it a planted aquarium. I bought a lot of plants for it and I'm planning to add even more for in the future because I want stuff to grow out before I place new things. But basically this is the tank. It's an 8-gallon aquarium. I'm gonna be having some rock work and some wood work. This isn't the pattern it's going to be in. But just to get you an idea, that's roughly what it's going to look like. I'm going to maybe set the rocks a bit closer. I'm going to fill the front with white sand and the back with soil. And I'm going to set up the rock work. I'm going to plant some plants in the soil at the back. And I'm going to make some moss on the trees. And I have a few other plants which I'm going to scatter everywhere. So, like I said, this is an 8-gallon aquarium. It has a bulb. I don't know if you can see it on frame. Yeah, you can. It's compact fluorescent. It should be able to grow leaves and plants, but just in case, besides that, I have a pump which inbuilt is a light source. I don't think you can see it, it's not very focused on. Nope, there you go. Yeah, it's by Submarine, 280 flash. It's like €8, so like $10. Anyway, so I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to scape this tank. First we're going to start with the rocks, and then we're going to place the wood, and then we're going to place the sand and the soil, so then I make sure that everything is firmly in place. Then I'm going to start planting, and then I'll fill it. So this is the empty tank. Like I said, I have the rocks over here, which are a type of black rock which have quartz veins inside of them. They're pretty nice. I really enjoy working with them. I have my other tank set up with them. They have a nice effect. They look grey right now, but once they're wet they turn a bit more dark, so it gives the desired effect, which I'd like. So let's start scaping. So I kind of like set these out before we bought them. Me and my friend bought these. My friend bought them for me for a Christmas present, actually. He knows I love this sort of stuff. So it was nice. And so basically the general idea is something like this. I have 5 rocks to set, and I'm trying to keep the vein similar. So like this kind of has to rest up there. I don't know if you can see. And I have a small one which is gonna be used as support for this rock, which is gonna go there. Oopsie. Yeah, it's quite difficult before they actually get molded with the sand and the substrate that you're gonna put into them, so it's safer just to use both hands, but I'm trying to man the camera beforehand. So that one goes there. That looks nice. And I have a rock behind here. It looks just to separate. So that's the main scaping of the rock work that goes there. I'd like this a bit higher up, so and then it's kind of like a natural barrier between the sand and the soil, which I'm going to be putting in soon. Another thing I'd like to mention is that this tank is on solid wood, which is always a good thing. Make sure that the thing that your tank is on is always strong, because I've heard of many tank failures with the whole thing managing to break and people having to pay a lot of money in damages, especially if you live in a wooden house or woodwork, so make sure that your stuff is solid. I have pieces of wood. I'm going to go ahead and take off all the labels and show you how I'm going to be putting them. Alright, so now, like I said, I removed the labels from all of the woodwork and I'm going to be starting scaping. So me and my friend decided that some of the nicest ways to make the rocks and the plants kind of intertwine to look like the roots, I guess, or wood, kind of grew around it. So that leap over there, as you can see, goes right next to that rock. That's what we were planning anyway. I have a rock, a piece of wood here with a little hook, which can kind of go perfectly in there. If it fits this time. Like that. And I have another piece of wood, which you can see here, which we weren't entirely sure where we're gonna put it. With like I personally would like the big ends at the bottom and the smaller ends on the top to make it seem a bit more natural, as you can kind of see. But I'm moving the rockwork a lot more than I should. It's not where I originally put it. This one was meant to be going in there. Alright. Just have to get your hand right in. Oops. Yep, there you go. So, I like that quite a bit. I like having some height in some rockwork. This tank, by the way, is second hand. As you can tell, there are some scratches, but they don't take away from the viewing experience, especially once you actually fill it with water, because scratches, albeit they are like, you know, a bit annoying, and like some people don't like scratches on their tank. Well, it's a good tank, why waste it? It's just a few scratches, they're not gonna annoy you that much. And I just want something in my room, basically, and I wanted branching roots going out, and like I like the work. I know it's gonna scratch even more because it's next to me. I throw my keys on this table and whatnot, but it doesn't matter. It's just a tank. Take care of it and you'll be able to enjoy it, but if there's something wrong with it, don't take too much. It doesn't take too much out of the experience, in my opinion. It's still a beautiful tank. This one over here was planned to take it a bit like that, so you can kind of see them intertwining. I don't know if you can see that. I really like the design, and I have a small piece here which will make it look like there's another root coming out of the side, which can basically go there. But I think I'll put this one after I fill it with soil, so I can make sure I can get it in perfectly. It's a bit difficult, but something like that is what it will look like. Yeah, there you go. So that's the woodwork done, and now I'll show you the soil and the sand. So I'm using plant soil. It's by Scape, and that will be at the back. And for the front, I'm using JBL Zanzibar. It's grey sand, you can see over there, or river sand, basically is what they advertise it as. It's good for manta rays, stingrays, sorry, freshwater stingrays. I highly doubt that it's actually good for them, because I've heard things about them eating it, but whatever, that's another story for another day. So I'm gonna start filling it, and you can see me do that. Alright, so there you go. I placed some in the bottom. At the back, as you can see, that's all of the substrate where I'm gonna have my plants. To get a further out look, there you go. It's a bit high compared to the sand that there will be in the front, but that's the potting soil, and now I'm gonna be putting the sand, and I'll see you in a second. There you go, the sand bed is done. It's around 1 inch thick, and obviously I covered all of the holes underneath the rocks, and it's looking good for now. I'm gonna arrange a bit the sticks and fix that rock over there and make sure everything is solid before I start adding water, and hopefully things don't start floating or stuff starts moving around. I'm trying to keep a separation between the black and the back and the white. I'm gonna add a bit more over there and over there from the soil, and you'll see the end product in a few seconds. Alright, that's the end of that. Now I'm gonna be putting the plants in at the back, and I'll be attaching the moss to the plants, to the roots, sorry, and then you'll be seeing the product after that, and then after that we can finally fill the tank. I still have to put in the filter, which is going to be at the back. I'll do that first, and I'll show you guys how it looks. There you go, there's the pump put in. It has some LEDs, it has a section which can pull out air so it can aerate the soil, the tank, which will be good for the fish. It's rated, as you could have seen before, for 300 liters per hour, and it can support up to 50 liters, which is way less, which is way more than this tank will be, so that's a good thing. It's always nice to have a bit higher rating for a filtration system. And now I'm going to be planting the plants. You'll be seeing that shortly. So I'm going to be first talking about the plants that I'm going to be potting. Over here I have some Ludwigia, I don't know how to pronounce that, excuse me. Hopefully the focus gets that. Nope, Ludwigia. I'll write it down, it's in the description. But basically they're plants which have red things at the back. So I'm going to be putting those at the back, and I'll show you in a second how they look. Obviously they're going to look flaccid and crappy because obviously there isn't water yet in them, in the tank, but you'll see it in a second and it will look nice. So that was not the easiest. I always love planting, but oh, it's messy. Anyway, I tried to fill the whole background, and it will look way nicer when there's water in this tank, because then the plants will, like, you know, float up. You'll see them in a bit. I'm gonna have a few more plants kind of at the boundaries over there, and for that, if I can find them in this bag, I'm gonna be using something called Alternanthera. I'm bad with names, as you could tell. I don't know if it can focus. Whatever, it looks like this. I'm getting backlight from the front. There's also red, a bit more vibrant. You have to wash these cultures, so like if you buy them, watch out, because they can actually harm a tank. They increase the nitrates and the ammonia a lot. It's kind of like a jelly, I don't know how to describe it. It looks horrible, it smells horrible. So clean it, and I'm going to be planting them over there at the boundaries, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. So I finally planted them. I made a massive mess. They're over there in the corners, like I said, they're separating the boundary. It's hard to see it as a whole, you can see it like that. As usual, I made a mess. I'm not the most finesse of planters, but it looks good. I like it. Now I have some Taxiphyllum. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. It's basically a moss. You can wrap it around twigs. It doesn't need soil. It's a beautiful, like, branching kind of moss. Well, not branching, but it has a single shoot which then throws up a lot of moss fibers like this. This also has jelly, so yeah, you can see it there. You gotta wash that. I'll wash that and come back and plant it. There you go, I planted the moss. I personally really hate it when people use string to wrap moss. I know it works, but I think that until it grows out, it has such an ugly look. So I use natural, like, grooves inside the wood to place the moss, and I thought it would make a better look. So that's it for now. Now I'm gonna finally be filling up the tank. Hope you guys like it. I'll show it to you when it's completely full. I'll clean up a bit because I have some, like, moss at the bottom, and then when it's full I'll pan back, and then I'll explain what I'm going to be filling it with, fish wise, livestock wise. So hope you enjoyed. Let's see. Okay, it's finally full. There's the pump working. I filled it. I managed to fill in as a water volume, so volume of water. It was 22 liters. In gallons, you'll see it right here. 22 liters. The filter is now on, and I'm going to leave it time, obviously, to cycle before I introduce livestock. It needs to cycle, like I just mentioned, obviously. But there are multiple ways of cycling. So, like, you can either use pre-cultured media, or else there's, like, this really expensive thing where it's, like, kind of like bioflora, where you just pour it, it's liquid, into the tank, and then after, like, a few days, like even 2-3 days, it's cycled. I don't have any of that, so I just poured RO water. It's fresh water. You could use tap water as long as you have maybe some conditioner. I don't, so I used RO water. Or you can, if you're crazy, you can use bottled water. If you want to spend that much money, 22 liters, I don't know, that will come a bit expensive. So now I'm leaving it to cycle. That's the finished product. You can see over there some of the moss. Nothing came out, thankfully. The plants hopefully will be growing at the back, and it'll eventually rise and cover the whole backscape, so then I don't have to use a background, and it's just live plants. So other than that, I wanted to talk about what I was going to stock it with. There's a lot of room for for things to hide, so I wanted to get some shrimp, most likely some cherry shrimp. I have a video about their care in the description, and I think I'll just post it here. You can see that if you like to. And some type of guppy, or else maybe a single cichlid, maybe even a fighter fish, but he might have a bit of a hard time around these rocks. I don't know, I'll decide eventually, and then obviously I'll make a video about it, and then you'll see that, and I hope it's nice. Should hit this. If I hit this a bit, some of the bubbles are going up. It's very nice. It has to clear a bit. I poured the water very slowly, but it still became a bit rough around the edges. Other than that, I think I'm done. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll show you updates very soon, maybe in a few weeks when I start stocking it and it's finished cycling. Stay tuned, subscribe, like. Thank you very much. Love you guys. Take care.